How do I share it to my Facebook though?
They're going to automatically be in.
All right, cool.
What's going on, guys? Hope all is well. We've been having technical difficulties trying to get this message out. I just wanted to bring my brother Ken on, allow him to share his experience, strength, and hope. And if we can all pray in, let's pray in and let the spirit move. And it's echoing. You ain't got no headphones?
I do, but that's what keeps taking out the audio.
All right, I'm gonna just let you rock with it. I'm gonna pray you in real quick. Hold on. Let's see if it. Hello.
Yo.
Yeah, it's good. All right. I'm gonna pray you in and go ahead. Lord Almighty God, I just want you to place hands on Ken. Allow him to share his experience, strength, and hope. And his message just touches that one person that is struggling in the grits of active addiction. Prayers go out to the people who are struggling and isolating and not getting on Zoom meetings due to this coronavirus. Lord God, just be with them and allows Ken's message to touch that one sick and suffering addict. If he struggles with any low self-worth, any low self-esteem, or any insecurities, that you just remove that from and have a message to you. Amen. What happened, bro?
I'm here.
You're dark as hell.
I'm here. You can't see me now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. What's up, everybody? My name is Kenny. I'm an addict. So just a quick to qualify. I grew up in a city called Waterbury, Connecticut. It's filled with crime and a bunch of old textile factories where they manufactured clothing and brass and whatnot. So it's real rundown. It's there's nothing real pretty about it. Growing up, I grew up in the projects, and I was taught from a young age, man, that like hustling was like my only way. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I went to school and whatnot and everything, but my parents were never home, man. My dad's a great man, and my mother, she was a great mother, but they were just too busy working, trying to keep a roof over our head. You know what I mean? And me and my little brother kind of raised ourselves, like coming in and out all night, whatever we want to do, just running the street, being knuckleheads, like most of us do, So most of my life, I did whatever the hell I wanted. Growing up, I went to school. When I was in private school as a young boy, and the teachers told my mother I was gonna end up in prison by the time I was in high school. Little did she know she was wrong. It came close, but she was wrong. And I'm not in prison, but I did have a life of like just complete unmanageability, and it was nuts. My first time ever using, I remember I was probably like 11 years old. I started smoking weed. I found it under my mother's dresser, and I had my little cousin smoking with me and my brother, and it was a mess, And sorry, I was interrupted. Yeah, so like that's when it all started. Like I liked the effect produced by the marijuana that I smoked that night. You know what I mean? And it got crazy, and I became a pothead essentially. Like as the years went on, I started getting involved with bottle clubs, which you sell liquor after hours and whatnot. And I was involved with all these dudes from the neighborhood, and they taught me how to make money illegally. You know what I mean? And like all that stuff is great and it's cool. Like, yeah, whatever. Like I lived this crazy ass life. I could probably write a book, but none of that matters to me today. Like for the longest time, I thought like I wanted to be a gangster. Like that's the only way to survive was being a gangster. And that's not my story today, man. Like, I started using pills when I was probably like 22 years old, and I ran with that for a long time. Before you know it, I was using heroin, and my life just got crazy, So for the last 15 years, I ran, and I had no idea or no hope of how to get better. For the longest time, I had this girlfriend that I really loved, and I pushed her away, and she tried helping me, man. She chased me around all over trying to help me. You know what I mean? Like, and I just couldn't get any clue of what she was talking about. She always used to tell me, like, actions speak louder than words, and I couldn't grasp what that meant. You know what I mean? Because I would promise, like, yo, listen, it's my last night. Like, I'm not going to do this tonight. And then before you know it, the next morning, I'm waking up wondering how I ever got there again. You know what I mean? Like, sick and suffering to the fullest, man. And, like, so in 2014, I had the opportunity to fly out to Colorado and get some help. And, I didn't know nothing about any I like to call them the fucking A's, which is the anonymous groups. I didn't know about any of those. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was introduced to a couple of them, you know, and I read all these books and I started finding myself in these books, man. You know what I mean? Like they were talking about these people that just can't get right and they constantly relapse and why they're doing this. And I, you know what, for the longest time, like I looked at it and I was like, yeah, you know, I understand, but I'm good. You know what I mean? Like I would just push the book to the side and like, nah, I don't need a sponsor. I already worked the steps. You know, I read them. So I'm good. Like, you know what I mean? I read them shits, all 12 of them. So I remember I said that in a meeting one time and an old timer came up to me and was like, he's like, man, you got a lot to learn. Keep coming back. You know?
That's funny, dude.
Yeah. But you know, it's funny, man. I met a lot of great people, and like a lot of you know him, Derek, and I actually met Carl through Derek. And you know, when I was out in Los Angeles, I met Derek, and
Yeah.
me and Derek was a wild boy in early recovery. You know what I mean? Like we both had probably around the same amount of time. I think I had like 18 months. He had maybe 2.5 years or something like that. And we clicked right off the rip, man, because he was just a wild boy, and I could identify with being wild like him at a young age, you know. And
Yeah.
so we hung out. But anyways, man, like you know, so I finally decided to get a sponsor out there, and you know, I tried to do step work, and it just like I had that constant excuse that we hear from newcomers all the time: the steps don't work for me. You know what I mean? Like constantly, I had that same excuse. Nah, that shit don't work for me. It's not for me. I got to get back to the street and make this money. I'm broke out here. I don't have true religion genes. I'm losing it. You know what I mean? Like, and that was just all a fallacy and a false reality of my life, man. Um, Derek was always good for bumping me down. You know what I mean? Like he would always tell me like, yo, like you're nuts. Like you're out of control. Like I remember one time I told Derek I was gonna save my cousin's life by going to smoke crack with her and then teach her a way out. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure he told you that, Carl. Like that boy, he still talks about it to this day. But you know, God has given me another chance, man. You know, like I ran around the West Coast, I ran around Colorado, I flew back to Connecticut where I thought I could get it together because I had this great idea that I was going to get on Suboxone maintenance. And I'm not hating on nobody's on that. If it's keeping a needle out of your arm, I'm all for that because you're not dead today. But understand that's not part of my story, you know, because it didn't work for me. But so I go back out to Connecticut and I get this call from this lady out in Colorado. And she's like, hey, you want a job working in recovery again? And I was like, yeah. Like, let's do it. And it was down in Port St. Lucie, Florida. And I never been down to Port St. Lucie, Florida. And this is where I currently reside. So little did I know God was setting me up. You know what I mean? He was introducing me to my future home, you know? So I fly down there. They treat me like some big shot in the treatment world and this and that. They give me this job. I did not deserve this job. I was still getting high. They just didn't know it. You know what I mean? Like I went to the lab, was able to falsify my drug test and whatnot and get this job. And needless to say, it didn't last long, man. I sat back, didn't answer the phone, and collected my check for 4 months. So I kind of owe them an amends, but they're no longer around no more. But anyways, so I continued to run, man. I'm back in Connecticut. I'm back in my environment. I was living in a city called New Haven, and I'm bouncing back and forth from my city to New Haven, just trying to keep everything low key. Like, yo, if I'm not in my city, nobody's gonna know how Kenny's moving, and I could lay low down in New Haven. And that wasn't the case. Real quick, people started figuring shit out that I wasn't okay. You know what I mean? Like my man was a hustler. I'm stealing shit from him. I'm stealing shit from other people low key. Like, and nobody even knows what's going on. They're like, oh, yo, why is this missing? I'm like, I don't know, bro. You had mad heads in the house. Like, you know how it is, you know, just trying to make shit up, you know? So anyways, I got back. I finally, I ran for 4 years again, man. Like, and you know, I got a phone call from a friend that I put in treatment down here in Port St. Lucie one day. And he said, hey man, I just want to let you know I'm doing really good. I got 2 years clean, you know, and why don't you let me return the favor? I said, bro, I don't need to return the favor, man. Like, I'm good. Like, I'm not even getting lit. And he's like, bro, you sound like you just hit a big crack hit. Like, you know, he's like, don't lie to me. And I was like, yeah, you're right. You know, so like, he was like, why don't you come down to Florida? And I was like, nah, I just got to get back to the rooms. I know what I need to do. Cause like, you know, we always get the case of, I know, you know, like we think we know what's best for us because we constantly want to run the show. And it took me 3 days to realize that I didn't want to be in the cold Connecticut climate at the end of November when it was starting to get windy, rainy, and about to snow. And I was like, you know what? Florida sounds real good, man. So I flew down to Florida, and I went to this treatment center. And this place, man, like it was like nothing I ever been to before, you know. They handed me a book and they said, so they handed me a book and they said, get busy, you know, like, and I didn't want to, at first I didn't want to get busy. I had like the first couple week blues where I was like, oh no, I just want to get high. Like, I don't want to be here and whatnot. And I stayed, I stick and stayed, man. And I started working some steps, you know, like I had this old man come to me. He was like, hey man, he's like, when's the last time you got real good and high? And I was like, shit, that's a good question. I was like, probably the first time. He's like, my point exactly. So you've been chasing for the last 15 years, man. You know what I mean? And I was like, he's like, so what are you willing to do about it? You know, so I had to make a decision, man. And that was like the biggest part for me was like that first step, like making a decision to realize that I was the problem and the drugs and alcohol were just a solution to me problem. You know what I mean? That's what it came down to. I had to really admit that I couldn't use drugs like regular people, man. You know, like I wasn't a weekend warrior. I was an every morning, every afternoon, every night warrior. You know, like the shit didn't stop. It was crazy. And I just kept going and going and going. So then they started talking all this God stuff. And I wasn't a believer in God because when I was 22 years old, my mother was murdered. You know, like God rest her soul, but another addict took my mother, you know, because he was selfish and self-centered. Like, and he was about to kill himself, and he was like, "You're coming with me." So he killed both himself and her on the same morning, and that really like set me off, you know, like, and it didn't allow me to have any conception of a God or anything greater than me, you know, like it was hard for me to grasp that idea, and you know, coming down to Florida and being surrounded by men that had a purpose and a sense of a higher being changed my perspective. You know, when all these guys started talking about God, at first I got a little uncomfortable. You're like, you know what I mean? And you know, and one of them just said to me, he's like, "Why don't you pick a God of your own understanding, man? You know, like pick something you understand." He's like, "It don't have to be the man in the cloak up in the clouds trying to condemn everybody, this and that." And again, if that's your thing, I'm not hating. Do you, boo boo? Like, I want you to keep going. You know, like don't let me dissuade you from anything you believe in, because that's not the case. I can only talk about what my experience is. And you know, by the grace of God, the 12 steps in the fellowship I'm a part of, man, I'm 17 months sober. You know, like Carl, you met me on video chat
Yeah.
7 months ago.
You had a
Or
year, right?
yeah, my year when we were counting down on Dream XL, and you know,
Pretty cool, man. How this
yeah,
thing works. You
it's
know what I mean?
it's a journey, man. You know, and like we work different fellowships, but still, like we could identify with that same emptiness in our hearts. You know what I mean? Like, and like I could understand another addict better than I can understand a regular person, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like I can understand, like I work in treatment. I stopped doing the sales part of treatment and I'm a tech because I want to help men. You know what I mean? Like I want to show them that like, yo, listen, I'm a little beacon of light that God placed in your life. Let me help you, you know? So
Yeah.
anyways, man, like we got busy, man. Like, you know, I turned my will and my life over to the care of that God in that third step, man. And, you know, like I started realizing that I no longer ran the show like I thought I did for so many years. Like I used to wake up and think that I had everything going on, man. Like, yo, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and that was never the case. Like, because I didn't realize there was always a bigger plan, you know. And today I realize that, man. Like even when things get rough, like I turn it over to something greater than me. Like, you know, I don't stress out, and like. Now that's a lie. I do stress out sometimes because I'm not perfect. You know what I mean? Like I have stressful days and but I don't stress out as much, and I don't stress out to the point where I feel like I need a release from myself, you know. So in my fourth step, I got real busy, man. I wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote, and I found out a lot of shit, man. First and foremost, I found out that I was a real scumbag, you know, real selfish, real self-centered, egotistical to the max, didn't care about nobody but myself. And you know, like it was a lot of work, man. Like really taking a good look at yourself on paper, that's a whole experience. You know, like who the hell ever wanted to do that? And then people are telling me, oh, regular people take inventory all the time. I'm like, well, I never met one yet, so I must not hang out
No.
with regular people. So, but yeah, and like, you know, but the most powerful part of that four step, man, was getting done. And like, it only, like, you know, like, when I finally finished it and I got to sit down across the table from another man and air out all my garbage to him, and he listened and he looked at me, he was like, man, me too, bro. He's like, I felt everything you said. He's like, because I've done it. You know, he's like, but today I'm not that person, and you don't have to be that person no more, you know? So that was it wasn't as hard as I thought it was gonna be, you know, like it was a very busy time of my life, and I stayed busy, and I made sure I was gonna have the life of my wildest dreams that was promised to me when I walked into the rooms, you know. So you know, working 6, 7, 8, and 9, like 6 and 7, man, I had to turn all that stuff over to God, you know, like them character defects and them shortcomings, which are basically the same thing. You know what I mean? It's just like they wanted to make sure we had extra work after doing 6 on 7. You know what I mean? Like, hold up, homie. Like, yeah, you got the character defects out of the way. Let's talk about your shortcomings and compare these two. You know what I mean? So, okay, I did that. And like, I was way worse than I thought. You know, I was one of the sickest, man. And like Derek likes to say every time I talk to him, he's like, Kenny, man, you're all diseased up.
Yeah, I can identify, man. I don't work no
Yeah.
perfect program at all, man.
Nah, man, none of us do. Like, cause you know, like that old us wants to come out once in a while. You know what I mean? And like it wants to get busy. And like sometimes like I'll try to put the dollar over my fellowship and whatnot instead of fucking realizing what gave me the opportunity to try to get this dollar. You know what I mean? Like a lot of times you'll hear me saying like, oh, I got to do this, I got to do that. But like, I got to remember, man, there's a lot of people that don't have the opportunity to do what we're doing, Carl. You know what I mean? Like we get to do this shit today. And that's a blessing, man. Like, because if you think about where we were to where we are, man, this shit is sick. Yeah. Privileged. You know what I mean? Like quality of life problems, right? Like that's what they talk about. And, you know, I think the hardest step though out there is definitely 9, man. And when you're getting busy and trying to go over that 8-step amends list of the people you harmed,
Oh man, oh,
yeah, and you got to go back out there and right those wrongs. Like that shit is that's a hard step, man. Like to really take a good look at all the shit you did, and then wondering if you're gonna get knocked out when you show up to talk to this person, or even get cursed out on the phone. You know. Um, but I definitely got busy with that, man, and I made a lot of amends, like to people I hurt, family mostly. Like my father, I never knew how much I hurt my father. You know what I mean? Like I never realized like what I put that man through. You know, like him seeing me and my brother plastered in the newspapers for fucking high speed chases with police and shit. You know what I mean? Like him having to hang his head low out in public because of the embarrassment we were. You know, because and it wasn't even about what we were doing. It was like, yo, you guys got caught. You know what I mean? Like, because my dad's an OG, and that's what he said. He's like, man, you embarrassed the shit out of me, man. Like, you know, like I have a name to uphold, you know. And today, by the grace of God, also like me and my father have a great relationship, man. He calls me to talk to me today, like you know, and we talk about fishing because I like to do fishing now. Like that's my new release. That's my time with God when I'm out in the water trying to catch some fish. I'm not that good at it. There's probably some people watching me that know me. Like you'll hear me bullshit on my videos. Like,
yeah, I fish. I love fishing. I'm real good at it too.
yeah, well, let me know when you're in Florida, bro. You come down, we'll show you some big fish out here, man. You know,
Yeah, I know that.
and but yo, like step 11, man, continuing to work on my conscious contact with God. You know, like that's a tough one. You know, like 10, yeah, okay. I'm not gonna sit here in front and say I take a personal inventory every day, but I definitely spot check and I admit when I'm wrong and I right that wrong right away if I can. But 11, man, 11 is where that's my foundation. You know what I mean? Like if I'm not keeping a conscious contact with this God of my understanding, then I'm doomed, man, because like I'll start resorting back to old behaviors and wanting to do wild boy stuff. And thank God I don't act like that no more, man. I'm able to sit in the moment and look at my feet and understand this is where I'm supposed to be at this very moment. And I have no control over the next 20 minutes that's coming my way. And I just got to live in acceptance constantly, you know, helping people, man. Like that's the reward of this thing. When they tell you do not leave before the miracle happens, that miracle they're talking about is watching another addict with his lights turn on in his eyes, man. And then inadvertently turning around and helping another addict. Like that's the miracle. Like don't get it twisted. It's not about us once we get through the steps. It's about helping other people. And that's been the greatest reward in my life. Like, and I don't get paid for it. I get what they call spiritual dollars. You know what I mean? I got stacks of them right now, but I'm blessed, man. Like, Carl, I really want to thank you for this opportunity. Like, I seen your post. And I was like, you know what? I need to do something for my own recovery. It's been a while with this coronavirus thing going around,
Yeah.
and
What's your thoughts? And but listen, I want to ask you some questions if you don't mind.
yeah, of
So,
course.
like, what are your like flaws today? Like, what do you struggle with today? Like, clean and whatever.
Um, well,
Women, get it out there.
well, honestly, I don't think I'm worthy of love. You know what I mean? Like that's something I struggle with, like very hardly. I beat myself up of it. I get scared a lot when like being approached by a woman. Like I'm still fearful. You know what I mean? Like I look at everything that's wrong with me instead of accepting what's good with me, and that's something I work on. Like I probably should be calling my sponsor a little more and talking about these fears that creep up. But I try to turn it over to God, and that's probably the wrong thing to do. I also, like not having what I want in life is a big problem for me. And I act out on it all the time. And I'm always trying to find the easy route because that's who I was. You know what I mean? So, like, sometimes I got to, like, just rewind and sit down and be like, yo, chill out, bro. Like, everything's going to come. And, like, a lot of people say, oh, like, have faith. But, like, faith, Derek put it in, like, yo, I'll never forget that night. Derek put that in the best perspective for me. He's like, Kenny, faith is an action word, man. You could have all the faith in the world, but if you're not putting the next foot forward with that faith, you're not going to get nowhere. You know what I mean? And I was like, that was probably some of the most powerful shit I ever heard. And Derek's good for that, man. Like that boy always puts me on the spot with some one-liners, and I don't know where he comes up with it, but he's a beast.
Yeah, he is. He is, though.
He comes up with some wild
My
stuff.
dog, man.
He's a good people, man. And I actually had the opportunity to. A friend of mine that was in treatment with me, man. He's actually from Maryland. He's from Calvert County now. He reached out to me almost 90 days ago. He's watching. He's probably watching right now. And he reached out to me 90 days ago, and he was fucked up in Arizona, man. Like in the game, like messed up. And he's like, bro, like I need help. And we flew him out here to Florida, and he's picking up 90 days in a day. Like this kid is. He's actually he came down here. He got busy. He didn't play no games. He's got a sponsor. He's working steps and. That's all this thing takes, man. Like it's crazy how easy this thing was. If only we just had a little bit of it to understand that all we had to do was take 12 simple painkillers, our lives would get better. And like I call them painkillers because that's what they are. This is the true painkillers, these 12 steps, man. And it saved my life, and I'm forever grateful for that. Like I'm gonna continue to help men that suffer like me, and I don't know, like I didn't want to get too much into my war story, man, because I really don't feel like that matters. Like I've done a lot of shit, like gotten arrested, treated women like shit, cheated on women. Like I could talk about that stuff all day long and brag about it like it's something to be proud of, but at the end of the day, it's not nothing to be proud of, man. That's just my story, and like I usually only share that with sponsees. This way they could qualify, this way they can identify with me, So I don't know. What other questions you got, Carl? I'm getting off the line here, man.
I mean, like, you covered a lot, man. A lot of solution. You know what I mean? I could see that you like transform your life, and So, like, what part of Florida you in?
I'm in Port St. Lucie, Florida, which is about 40 minutes north of West Palm Beach, 2 hours north of Miami, and it's a good little area. Man, it's kind of country for a boy like me, but this is what I needed. I needed that slow tempo.
Yeah, I kind of switched it up, and I went to out in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And like it took me a while to I mean, it ain't where you from, it's where you at, but it's kind of different out here in recovery, like when
Yeah.
what I'm used to, because I like try to get clean for over 17 years, man, and this is the most amount of clean time. My clean date is 5/18/18, coming up on 2 years through the grace of God, and like I'm forever grateful. You know what I mean? Like to have another day, but all I got's just for the day. And I started this when I was like 60, 90 days in, and people's like, you're crazy starting this, and you're going to get high. And I just people can know I'm real consistent with things, and I turn my pain into a purpose, man, and like believe God got us. You know what I mean? And like I continue to do this, I continue to grow, I continue to go to meetings, work. This became like a job, dude. I was not aware of how many people this was going to be. Hell,
Yeah.
I started with 60 Days Clean, bro. Like a lot of war stories, and then it kept going, and then I started identifying with like what I did to women, and a lot of people identify with that. And I don't know how it all women, a lot of women followers, like 77%, 33%. Man, you know, we got egos. So
Yeah.
that's just what I believe in. Yeah, man, it was an honor having you on here. There's been some powerful speakers I had on there. I don't know if you ever checked in on here.
Yeah, I check in every once in a while. Like, as you know, life gets lifey, man. So like as far as Facebook, I try to stay away from it as much as possible, but I'll be scrolling sometimes. I'll check in real quick, give you some heart reacts and hop off.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, like if you're new and
Yeah.
you're not understanding what we're doing, and you want what we have, do what we do, man. Get busy, and don't rest on your problems, man. Like just face them. Like find a man that's armed with the facts about himself in the rooms, man. No matter what fellowship you're working, just find that man that's on fire. Like, you know what I mean? Like Carl. Carl is on fire. Like he loves recovery. Like,
There's a
what I mean?
dude in Florida. It's my man, Ricky Cope. He's out fishing out in Miami.
Nah, Ricky, I don't think I've ever been down there, man. Fisher Island. That's next to Star Island, right? Oh, you're doing big things.
That's my man that bought me the laptop. He blessed me. He
Yeah.
just found me on here, man. He said,
Yeah.
God told me to bless you with this laptop, and that's what God does. He
That's what's
blessed me.
up,
And
man.
I'm thankful and grateful for that.
Yeah.
I've been wanting a laptop, man. I mean, with this coronavirus and shit, I just be chilling, man. I trust in the process. Like the process didn't start for me until I started doing some work, writing my secrets down, sharing with another man, getting vulnerable and honest and transparent with them, having them telling me like, "Yo, this what it is. This what you want to do, or go find somebody else."
Yeah.
What I needed, dude. That's what
Yeah.
I need.
You need it. You needed that quick punch to the gut, letting you know, like, yo, I'm not gonna sit here and deal with your bullshit, bro. I'm not your
Yeah.
bank. I'm not your taxi. Like, I've had people tell me that. You know what I mean? Like, you're gonna either
And
face me.
really, we benefited out of that, having them share that with us, and that real transparency and like just no sugarcoat, man.
Yeah. Like, my sponsor, man, my sponsor's really been through the ringer, man. Like 12 years in prison. You know what I mean? Like, dude's a real one. You know what I mean? And like
Oh, yeah.
when he shared that with me, he was like, look, bro, he's like, I changed my life. He's like, what, you don't think you could change yours? And I was like, you know what? Like, let me give this a shot. You know what I mean? And that's what we did, man. We got busy. Uh, I actually, your buddy down there in Miami, I actually used to live down there in Miami, like back in 2006. That's where a lot of my story unfolded with the pills. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah.
Like, yeah, like I was doing some wild stuff down there, man. And like, like I was bouncing back and forth from Connecticut to Miami and all that. But like I said, none of that matters, man. I just like to get into conversation sometimes. And Carl, we're truly blessed, man. Like, like God keeping us safe from this coronavirus and everything, man. Like, like thank God I don't know anybody directly that's been affected besides like a friend of the family up in Vermont, like
Yeah, I know a lot of people from the fellowship has been affected of this. Me myself, I was in New York like an idiot at the convention at Niagara Falls. For the grace of God, I've been back for almost a month. I didn't get it.
yeah, I seen you up there. When I seen you when you said you were headed to New York, I was like, this boy's wild.
Huh?
When I seen you said that on Facebook, you said, "Oh, I'm going to New York. We're gonna be up in there." I was like, "Oh man, he's crazy with this
I
disease."
mean, my sponsors, we traveled and I got to share the convention, man. The mask must go. So they asked me, I did it. And like I was on some shit like I wasn't really, I mean, I hugged people. I was guilty of that. But this when it wasn't up in the western part of New York, but now it's everywhere.
Yeah, the whole
They're
tri-state
idiots.
area.
They're wearing gloves and touching shit. That's cross contamination, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's anything you touch, man, and it's going to be your phone. You're going
Right.
to touch your phone, cuz you're going to put the phone to your ear. Like, yo, I go in the grocery store. I made my own wipes. I got paper towels and peroxide and alcohol, and I wipe the doors down. And people looking at me crazy. I say, "You want that shit?"
Mm-hmm.
I say, "You can go ahead. What you want to do?" I'm
I
wiping.
seen a I seen a lady with a lampshade on her head the other day. like in the Walmart, full lampshade. Like her earring was hanging. It looked like she had the pull string and everything. You know, like, people. This is bringing out the wildest in people, man. And you know, we just got to be careful. Wash our hands, wash our clothes when we're out in public. Make sure you shower when you get home. And I'm not a doctor, and I don't know all the answers, but I know that if I'm trying to do the littlest bit, it's better than what I'm regularly doing. You know what I mean? Like
They said it creeps up on you. That's what's scary about it.
yeah, it starts with a sore throat or something like that, and then boom, you're in the
Oh,
hospital.
your nose, and
Oh,
it
it
goes
gets Nate.
down your nose, and then it goes down to your throat. Cause I know a predecessor that got it, and I stay in contact. And
Mhm.
it took him a month to get over that shit, bro. He had a serious case. For
Yeah,
real.
man. I don't know. Like sometimes I sit back and it's been what 2.5 weeks we've been going through this, and I'm just wondering what life's gonna look like after this. You know what I mean? Like there's gonna be a lot more precautions when it comes to certain things. Just like after 9/11, a lot changed. You know what I mean? Like anytime a major conflict or something happens in this country, they got to change up a lot of stuff, and it's scary. You know, like wondering like how is it gonna be when you want to travel abroad? You know what I mean? Like
You won't even know though. My man said that's what he told me. He was like, "Yo, I just called him a little bit ago, and he shared on here. He said he didn't even know. He shared a couple of days ago, and he said, "Yo, I ain't even know. Like it started with a fever
yeah,
and a
that's
sore throat, but he said his girl had a fever, and then it started coming a little vicious the next week after that, right? And like they got mild symptoms of it. Like it ain't really serious, but they told him just to stay in. And the hospital's even worse, bro. Like, what do you mean? Like you go home and shit, and then to me, what I got out of it to makes you feel better, is something called silverfish. It's like
what's
$92. I looked it up for real. It's like supplements and shit, and you take it and shit. Cause my man is the predecessor. I don't want to break his anonymity on here or nothing, but he'll be coming up to share when he gets better.
right.
I built a lot of relationships in the fellowship, bro. I'll run down and get your number. I don't care who you are, what color you are, what you look like. My phone is loaded
Yeah,
when
it's
I
got
go
to be.
programming in a
That's,
convention. I'm
that's
bringing
that toolbox.
I don't play, bro. I don't get no opinions in this camp, bro. I get experience, and
You
I'm
got to
sure
keep
that's
that.
what you do too.
Yeah, you got to keep that toolbox loaded because you never know when. Like you never know when you're gonna get that mental twist where it's like you forget what it was like, man. You know what I mean? Oh, I could do just one. You know, like time. That time doesn't really mean nothing, man. Like if you think about it, it's just something for us to look back on and be proud of. But at the same time, it's like I could be the just like the newcomer picking up that white chip before you know it. You know what I mean? Like I talk a lot of shit to like my people. Like we'll talk shit and be like, oh, I always tell them like, oh, you'll use before me. You know what I mean? But sometimes I got to sit back and be like, yo, like what's wrong with you? Even wishing that on people. You know, like that's fucked up. And I don't know, man. I feel like I've been placed in a position of neutrality, man. Like you know what I mean? Like I don't want to get high today. I don't want to fight people. You know what I mean? I don't
Yeah.
like. I just I live in peace, man. Like in solitude. You know, and
I
like
used to want to fight people and everything, dude. For
yeah, I used to come in. I used to judge everybody in the rooms. I walk in, I'm like, look at this cornball.
real. You're like me, then. I wilded out at the meeting the other day, well, a
yeah,
couple of months ago. Told the dude, we just got in a situation. I told the dude, I said, yo, you don't live what you speak, cuz fuck it, it's Rumble right in front of the police station.
yeah, you're sick.
Yeah. Well, I don't like people talking crazy about my podcast either. Just let me
Right,
rap and don't put me as a social media post. So I had to check you at the door. I'm
right.
I let people sometimes you gotta let people know, like, yo, this what it is, this what's gonna be. Like my man got locked up for some meth on here. He would get on here, he people judged him. He got locked up. He was an addict, you know what I mean? He used to
Mhm.
do live videos with me when I first started. And he said sometimes you gotta do the old shit, what you did, let people know this ain't a game. Stay in your
Mhm.
lane. I stay in my lane though. I know for me when I acted out, it didn't sit right with my conscience though, because I got a conscience now today. So I was like,
Yeah.
damn, that just kind of eat me up. So we neutralized the situation on the phone and we talked as men. I said, let's just talk as men, bro. Like we ain't no little boys and shit. We can't be in recovery going to meetings and beefing and shit at the same time. That don't mix.
Right.
We
Yeah.
squashed it, and that's what it was.
It's all ego, man. You know what I mean? That's what it comes from. Like the ego is not our amigo, man. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's not. It's not.
Or
You
our
know?
pride got hurt or our feelings, and then we want to cover it up with a anger or something, a resentment.
Yeah, for sure.
And
Don't
resentment
get.
starts with like trying to control something, and you don't get your way. So I don't like this motherfucker. So I built a resentment of like history of the situation. So that's where resentment's formed. I don't know. You can you identify with that?
100%. It always starts with me, something not going my way. You know what I mean? Like someone not doing what I want them to do, a situation not being the way I want it to be it. And that's how it starts. And then it just spirals like a snowball going down a hill in the middle of winter. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it gets bigger and bigger and bigger until it explodes, you know?
Yeah. But
What do
I
they say?
you
What do
coming
they say?
up with
What do they say? What is it? Unrealistic expectations are resentments waiting to happen. You know what I mean? Like, and
oh yeah,
that's
you place an unrealistic expectation on something, right?
yeah. You know what I mean?
And somebody ain't like it's just some crazy shit. I'm about to get real, right? So if somebody ain't on fire for recovery, as I am, I don't want to fuck with them. That's being 100.
I
Being
hear.
100. I ain't gonna get on here with my podcast and lie or place. That's some unrealistic expectations. That's self-centered as a motherfucker.
Right.
But this ain't no watered down podcast. I get on here. I know you be hearing me. You like this motherfucker crazy. I get on
First time I heard you, I said, "What the hell is going?"
What?
You were just like screaming in the beginning of the video. I said, Derek, I said, what's he doing right now, man?
Fired up.
But then I started listening to your message, man, and I noticed that you were a man of faith. You know what I mean? And like you grew into that, obviously, because when we're out there, man, we ain't got no faith in nothing besides the dope man answering the phone first thing in the morning.
Well, what I did is I got sent to this place. It was something good for me because I wasn't kind of forcing religion. That's just what my family did. I couldn't get clean in Lancaster, York, PA. I couldn't get clean in Harrisburg. I just wasn't ready, bro. I wasn't ready. I would try to get a woman. She's going to fix me. And then the drugs fix me. I tried to hustle. And then the drugs used me. And then I got out, maxed my sentence out, got in this with this girl, destroyed her. She kicked me out, but it was my house too. But she was like, I ain't with that shit you're using. She went, fucked the neighbor upstairs, whatever. You know the story, how it goes. But so in the process of that, I couldn't get clean, bro. And like I went to treatment. My story's a little different. I was forced into treatment, kind of like you go to treatment or you know what the fuck time it is. That's my story. Not everybody has a story like that. You just like your liability, you know what time it is. So I went to treatment, bro, and it was just something different this time. I bought into that shit, and I was like, yo, I came up with the idea. I was like, well, I'm coming up with a clothing line. I came out with that successful recovery work and shit. This shit right here. It's like a dump truck and shit.
Okay.
Pretty cool. Successful recovery work. Dump the jump. That's a slogan. But so I'm sitting in this program, bro, and just God came over me, man, in a Christian-based program, and I watched predecessors that have a good life and that are really living this thing and not speaking it, but they're living it. So y'all just bought in, bro. God gave me a purpose. He said, go live, tell your story.
Yep.
And people just bought into it, dude. It started reaching people. I started this with somebody else, my man named Dino and shit. No, I gave out like $3,000 worth, probably even more than that, bro. I just started giving it away. What's your address? Here, leggings, these bracelets and shit. Now I'm selling these for $1.25. I done gave out 700 bracelets before. I got to keep putting it back into the page and then eventually start a store out of it. But at the end of the day, I just want to inspire people, dude, to start a movement, a business or something. Like to stay clean, sober, whatever they do with it. I'm just a vehicle. This don't feed my ego. I gotta continue to do the work, man, and keep carrying the message because if I don't do the work, the disease will work me. And that's how I look at this thing. But I appreciate you for having you on here. What's your message of hope for someone using right now?
Man, just take it a minute at a time, man, and just try to get connected with somebody, and like, don't be scared. Like, it's scarier out there than it is where we're at, man. And life gets good. Just have faith and trust God, man. Like, that's the biggest part of my life, is to trust God today. Like, and if you can't do that, just have. I have a man in the fellowship that says I had to have a little weed seed of faith. You know what I mean? Like, that's it. That's all it took for me to get here. And it's the truth, man. Just have the littlest bit of faith that something better is coming your way,
Yeah.
and everything will work out, man. And I truly hope God blesses everybody out there, that if you're still using, man, like, my inbox is open. I'm sure Carl's inbox is open. Don't be scared to reach out and ask how we did what we did. And that's it, man.
Eric D said, "Who let this dude share?"
He said, what?
Derek D said, "Hey, yo, who let this dude share?"
Yo, tell Derek. Derek,
Derek, you can't see the comments on there on your phone.
Nah, they don't pop up on my phone. No.
It's something said live comments. Something on your phone.
Nah, I don't see that.
You don't?
Mm-mm. No, I'll go back and peep it though. Like,
All
I'll
right,
probably
brother.
watch
Thank
it.
you, man. Much love and respect to you.
All right, Carl, man. God bless, man.
Yep, my man. Yeah, man. That was a good show, man. Good experience, strength and hope. Like I said, I got the bracelets. Y'all want to send me in the inbox? These are going fast. Got the Cash App, got Venmo, got Facebook Messenger, Turtle bracelets. Y'all see them? If y'all want them, hit me up. They're going real fast. Turtle bracelets. They're going very, very fast, man. These are the bracelets. So if y'all want the bracelets, I'm gonna pray out, and I love y'all. Y'all have a blessed night. Y'all are amazing. I didn't hit the intro because my girl's son's sleeping. Lord Almighty God, I just want to let you know that I'm a blessed man, Lord God, and everybody's blessed. And come into my life and change me and mold me, Lord God, and just be with me and be with the people that heard this message, and be with the people that's out there struggling, living in fear and not faith, Lord God, and just send the blessings down, pour the blessings down abundantly, Lord God, and just be with the people that's out there struggling, be with everybody, my brother Ricky, and just lift him up and keep him anointed, and just reach out to the people that struggle and touch their heart. Amen. Y'all have a blessed night. You want the bracelets? Message me. Anybody wants the bracelets? Send me a message. Bracelets. I got them.